My name is Frederick Douglass. You may have heard the very question of slavery is a difficult one, and ought only be discussed in a calm, temperate, common sense kind of way, which is all very pretty and very cool. Though for myself, as a former slave of Maryland, it is a plain case where there cannot be no intelligent difference of opinion. In America, it is dictated that slavery must not be looked at with any system of ethics which applies to the white man. Citizens of Wakefield, I need not tell you that there is a moral power at work here tonight. That your combined resolution and recognition of my own feelings and values is the very reason I am among you. The slaveholders of America care not for my voice alone, yet they find themselves compelled to listen to black sentiment when it is backed up by white authority. If the slaveholders had their way, myself and Miss Remond would not be permitted to stand in the same room as you, yet address you as equals. Stories have reached our ears of Englishmen traveling to America and not bearing witness to any of the horrors that are in connection of the slave trade. Was it likely that they should? The only way you will see the true face of slavery is if you travel as the slavers do. For those who advocate it go to great lengths to hide its barbarity from the decent and refined people they wish to impress and conduct business with. The truest nature of this trade can only be witnessed if you were to borrow a black skin. It grieves me deeply that I know many a Negro who would be happy to trade a white man for his hide in the position it affords him. When they travel to England, they may very well tell you an alternative tale of a beautiful system. But do they ever bring a Negro and encourage you to spend time with them without their master or mistress within earshot? Do they prompt them to speak freely and from their own viewpoint? There are, I dare say, slaves who are well cared for and educated to meet a certain need. But just how did they start their lives in America? Like the millions of slaves in bondage, in farms, plantation colonies across America and the rest of the world, in chains and whipped until they succumb to labor or death. These slaves do not have a say in their treatment. Let it not be construed that they are permitted to hold meetings, pass resolutions declaring how contented and happy they are at their daily toil. Their masters, and in extension mistresses, control every aspect of their lives. And the truth of their existence is that they are miserable, wretched, and destitute beyond expression. To my eyes and ears, there is no declension in the anti-slavery spirit of this time. The main order of business here tonight is the consideration of forming an anti-slavery association. And let me assure you how important a step that is in ending slavery in America. Slavery was born out of the overwhelming desire of power at any cost. It relies upon the brutal torture and death to perpetuate its control. We seek another way to end it. Not with violence, but with compassion. Not with weapons, but with words. I have pleasant recollections of this very hall, for I have been here 13 years since. And it pleases me to see that there has been little alteration in such a charming building and the consciences of those who occupy its seats. In my heart, I know if there has been any changes, they have been for the better. Slavery is a moral corruption and ought to be outlawed. For we are all the people, we are all the places, and we are all deserving of a life of love and freedom.
Remond. I wish I had the ability to place before you the exact condition of the American slave. No stranger from England who happened to be in the States on the 4th of July and heard the constant declarations for liberty and freedom would for a moment dream that a portion of its people were groaning under a hopeless despotism. The law in America has sadly declared that no black man or woman has any rights which any white man or white woman are bound to respect, thus reducing the Negro race to a condition on a level with the poor beasts that are left to suffer and perish. Not only is this the case to that portion bought and sold into slavery, for every nominal free Negro man or woman are the continued victims of this despotism who are under the feet of the oligarchy, which consists of 347,000 slaveholders. And these slaveholders have complete control, not only of government, but of the very question of slavery. When the Fugitive Slave Law was passed, the Friends of Freedom felt that these slaveholders knew that the day of redemption for the enslaved race would eventually dawn. From that knowledge, the slaveholders increased their efforts for the protection of this cruel institution, and it was so that the extinction of the free Negro population became the next part in their program. I am advised that around 40,000 Americans visit England each year, and am further informed that many of them leave behind an influence favorable to slavery. Let the people of this great nation continue to see the slave trade for the abomination that it is, and not be swayed or deceived by the luxury of wealth and fortune stemming from barbaric acts towards your fellow men, women, and children. Following upon the Fugitive Slave Law came the infamous Dred Scott decision. Mr. Scott's story will forever occupy a place in history as one of decency, morality, and freedom. He sought to purchase his liberty and that of his daughter from his master by carrying out duties beyond his ordinary toils of the day. Mr. Scott's master took him to a free state where the law declared he could no longer be retained by bondage. Some friends of liberty, for they are to be found in all parts, informed Mr. Scott of this, and he sought to obtain his freedom by appealing to the 9 judges of the Supreme Court. After solemn deliberation, the the judges declared that Negroes were not citizens of the United States and therefore could not come into court. Slaves were of the condition likened to property and therefore may be taken by their owners to any part of the United States, and that Congress had no power to interfere between slaves and their owners. In truth, how could an alternative outcome be expected when 5 of the 9 judges were slaveholders themselves? In the presence of American visitors, let your abhorrence of the system be evident. Indulge not in any communion with slave ministers, and English opinion will continue to be an effectual power on behalf of the slave. The Christian church in America is the great supporter of slavery. But this is a contradiction to their promoted values, as slavery is thoroughly demoralizing and a great danger to liberty. I speak freely here, as I hold deep love and affection for Old England, not attributed to your military power or glory, but for the support and the strength you have shown me and this cause. I applaud you in turn for rallying against such tyranny and hate. You have shown me such courage and embraced me as a sister and as an equal. May we continue to stand together for freedom and a fair world, free from pain and suffering.